In all the world there is a sea, in all the sea there is an island, in all the island there is a county, and in that county there is a townland of Ancarach, situated at the edge of Ulster and Leinster provinces and the borders of County Cavan and County Meath, surrounded by myths and legends. It is here that you'll find Celtic Myths, the art of Irish lore, which is the art studio of Irish artist MARGARET MCKENNA. Hiya. It's grand to be here.
Come on in.
Aye, grand. What am I get? Doing a tattoo.
Tá go maith. I'm good.
I want
Thank
it.
you. Yeah.
Aye.
This is it.
Yeah, it's neat. This is your
Today,
team.
say sure. On a watch.
I want it.
Well, I'm painting today a picture of Cairn up in Loughcrew, which is just across the road from me. A place that's very dear to my heart, a place I've painted many a time, but I've never painted from this angle, and I'm going to turn it into something else later on. So I'm going to get the basics sort of done today. Art is, I mean, this is just, it's just a passion of mine, this whole place, but not just that place, but how to express my love of the place is through my art. And not just the place, but the story behind the place. I think art, since I was only a child, art it's been so central to my life. My mum said that before I could draw, or before I could walk or talk, I was drawing. And I literally, and that's not an exaggeration, I went through reams of paper when I was a kid. And my mum, being an artist herself, she really encouraged it. And even if it drove her mad, me having to get all the paper every 5 minutes. But I loved the idea of the storytelling. Even when I was a child, I would do lots of stories on my, it'd be like stories about, adventures and what kids were doing, comic books I used to make. It was always about the story. And again, now when I'm doing my art, it's the story behind the place is what I love. The idea that there's something more to it than just the painting. So initially it used to be like trying to get the atmosphere of a painting. So it was a really stormy sea, I'd like to get that drama, so what is it behind the painting? And then later on I started to become more interested in, I was always interested in our old Celtic myths. That's something that I've always been interested in since I was young at school. I used to draw them at home, and then even in college I remember doing a project and using Finn McCool and Cuchulainn and all the characters and doing like a little illustrated book about it. I was in the College of Art. My dad used to bring us down, and my mum of course, but it was his side was more, he was very interested in the history and all that stuff. So we'd go on holidays, we'd always go down to places like castles and stone circles and things like that, as well as of course amusements and everything like that too. Obviously we like those kind of things too, obviously. But we did actually enjoy the history part on some level. We just enjoy the old places. So I think that's always been there for me. And then I moved down here to Cavan, and just on the border of County Meath, and I realised that right across the fields from me was the Cairns. And actually I'd never heard of Loughcrew. I mean, I'd been to Newgrange, I'd been to so many places, but I'd actually never heard of Loughcrew. And I couldn't believe it when I heard about the story of the Gaeilge and just how ancient it was, and the equinox and since then I've painted this area so many times, because every time I look over across the fields, the light is so different. If it's summertime, it's different. If it's compared to the snow, compared to the frost, sunset, sunrise, middle of the day, dull days, the light, the clouds just change the whole light in the place. So never mind about the fact that the landscape itself is beautiful, but then on top of that you've got the extra ancient part of it, which is the story of the Gaeilge, the story of our ancestors, how they had this sort of calendar that was 5,500 years old, telling us when the equinox was, when the night and day were equal. And I've been up there many a time to see the sunrise in the chamber, and it's just, you're just so connected with it when it happens. So this kind of love of places like that, I just express through my art. I say I usually start with the basics of it. Like here, for example, today I have an actual picture on my phone that I've taken from the other day, and I refer to it every now and again to get the general shape. And then what I do is I'll actually add bits and change bits as I go along. So this is just a basic one, and it could look completely different by the time I'm finished because I block it in first, get the general basic, which I say to all my class, because I do teach here as well. This is my cabin. I built this 5 years ago. It was being sold as in County Mayo. An architect had used it, and we decided we'd get it. So I literally numbered every piece of wood, and it was literally, I could say, almost dumped on the garden, like a big giant jigsaw. which so it was, as well as being exciting in terms of having a new place to do my art with my students and my own art, it was also a great opportunity to learn how to just things like slating and how to put things together. So it was quite exciting. Certainly it's become a real little haven for people. I've had people coming back here for years now, and also then my own space. In between the classes, it's like this is where I come and I just tune out and I think about what I'm going to do next, and I use it for all my Celtic myths. Yeah, so I mean, this is what I like to add in. The idea now with this is that I'll hopefully add in, I'm actually, this is quite fluid at the moment, so I'll see where this is going to go. This will be a little adventure. So I'm just going to get the basics of what's on the hill first of all. So we've got the hills here, and we've got the, you've just got to look at this now, yeah. A little bit of the markings of where the hedgerows are. And this is how rough I do it initially. And I often, because people often think, oh, in the classes they have to do it really detailed. Oh, I made a mistake here. And then I said, no, you're only starting it off, so relax, just see what happens. Because it's, this is just the rough part. It can look like an abstract at this stage. You know where you're going, and that's it. That's the main thing. And because the main thing about art is to enjoy it. I'm not one of the artists who these sort of, and it's funny because when I was little, I remember when I used to be drawing characters and they'd be doing something like something adventurous or something, and Mum used to say to me, she said, you'd know that these kids, they're doing that because, she said, all you have to do is look at your face. You're living that. She said, you're living what they're doing. And I mean, obviously I don't be looking at myself when I'm drawing, so I don't know. But if I'm doing something that's, you're getting in behind the story, I suppose you're actually putting a lot of yourself into the picture. I suppose it's almost like, I suppose, if you're creating a drama or something, like I suppose it's the same for a director in a play. They want to get across a meaning, they kind of put a lot of themselves into it. And I think that's the same with the art. You're putting yourself into the story as to how you feel, your interpretation, which is so important. And then hopefully the people then will pick up on that and be inspired themselves, to even visit these places as well, because there's so much in our history and so much in our heritage that we kind of look at, we just literally walk on top of every day, and especially with our place names, which is my new passion now, is to see the meanings behind our place names. There's so many stories in there that we don't even, we are forgotten, and we just take them for granted. And so we're living in history, as it were, living in an ancestral place, no matter where you are in Ireland especially, but I'm sure not just in Ireland, in other places too, but it's just that people, I think we're more connected with it here in some ways. I think certainly we should be, and yeah, that's what so I'm hoping that when I do these paintings that this is what I get across, that it's that idea that this is our place, this is where we live, and these stories are really a part of who we are. Oh yeah. Well, thosaigh mé dús an díon glas ag fálam Gaeilge arís, agus fálam dála mé scoil, ach rinne mé dearmid chud is mó den tanga, ach nuair nach raibh mé ag obair, thosaigh mé arás Ealaín, agus thosaigh mé Duolingo dús, agus an sin in dhíos sin ag freastal ranganna gach seachtain, agus tá mé ag déanamh faoi láthair, agus sort of duscail sé, duscail an teanga me thula mar gheall an ceangal idir an na luga anmacha, agus an star, agus an mitsolaíocht, agus an bhélidas, agus an severas atá ann. Agus mar sin is tá sim mór agam san ábhar sin faoi láthair, agus tá mé ag déanamh obair faoi láthair le scoil, le Gaeilge scoil i gContae Muoinecháin, agus faoin luganam le san áid sin, agus tá sé sin anna samúil, agus Beic go húntaach mar, tá an bhfuil is beag na Gaeilge, an ceangal in na Loughcrew Amach agus chuna sa Ealaín na Amach an star agus na Scéaltaí na Scéalte tá faoi ar gusa, faoin ar gusa, agus tá sé sin go húntaach. I mean, níl mo Gaeilge go húntaach, ach tá sé anna níos fearr ná bhí sé, tá sé níos fearr ná bhí sé cúpla bliain ó hin. Between our history and our mythology and our folklore and to the language and with the place names, or the Loughcrew Amach, as I say, as Gaeilge in Irish, and it's just so it's so strong. I mean, we're literally walking on history, walking on mythology, and we don't realise it. I mean, across the fields for me, I mentioned the Sliabh na Cailleach, which is called Sliabh na Cailleach. In English, it's actually called Sliabh na Cailleach, which of course is the hill of the witch, or the Cailleach, the hill of the ancient goddess. And I mean, people say it every day and they don't even realise what they're talking about. So this is just one instance. Everywhere around the country that we've just got so much history and mythology beneath our feet, and the Irish language just really brings this out. It's because the names were changed during hundreds of years of occupation, and then of course during I think it was the surveys of the 19th century really, when they surveyed the land and they wrote them down to, sort of that would suit an English ear. So naturally they didn't even translate them; they were just put down and sort of made nonsense. It don't even make sense. And unfortunately, it's meant that the wonderful stories behind them are nearly lost. But they're so interesting, and I think when people actually open their eyes and realise, they think, oh my God, that's really interesting. They say, wow, I never knew that about where I live. That's connected to a mythological character like Cuchulainn or Finn McCool, or I never realised that. And it's just it's fascinating. Like, it really is. It's just it's not. We're very lucky, to be honest, to live in a country where literally the names of places are. I was talking about one recently there, and it was the county of Armagh, for example, and it's Ardmacha, which is the heights of Macha, and Macha being an ancient goddess. I mean, where do you get counties in a country that are called after an ancient deity? I mean, very rarely. And Ireland itself, Eru, the goddess Eru, Ireland, Era, is connected to Eru, the goddess who was asked to be her. The country would be named after her, and surely it was. So I mean, we're very lucky in that regard, and I think the Irish language, to me now, has really started to put that into the sort of right focus. My focus now is on that, in that area now. And yeah, the classes I do throughout the week, I do one on a Monday, and I do them on Thursday and a Saturday as well. I do adults and children. That's in my cabin, and then I also do classes in the community as well. I do classes for the Educational Training Board in different, again, community classes. In Cavan and in Monaghan, and I work with schools on another programme as well. So yeah, I'm fairly full up at the moment with classes most days, and sometimes a few classes a day, and then might have one day that's free. But yeah, it's a very casual kind of class. Most of the people who come, the classes in the community, sometimes they are teaching classes, such like I bring a subject, say, okay, for example, we do this, and we'd start from scratch. And I'll work them through it and what I'm doing. Other times then it's more, in here it's mostly a class that they just go and do their own thing, and I'm there to advise them and say just give them a few tips along the way. Some people look for more help than others, and some of them are more just give the odd little query now and again. They're quite happy to work away themselves. And of course people also come for the chat as well. I think that's as important as anything else. They have a cup of tea in the break, and and a few sweets, or cakes or something like that, and biscuits and that, and the little chat, and they love that part. I mean, every bit as much as they enjoy the painting, but they do. Yeah, so they're enjoyable to do, because you get to know people as well. It's amazing. You have people coming back for years and years. I've known people when I started I might have started off with them in a different place, in a community setting, being hired to do it, and then next thing is they're coming back to me, myself, doing the classes, and as well, because you can go off into your own little world then and do what they're doing, which is what I like to do as well, when I get the time to do that.